Welcome to this presentation on creating flowcharts. When you're trying to code a program, especially a really complicated program, it's really helpful to be able to organize your thoughts, organize the process, and organize the pattern of how you're going to get the outcome that you want, and flowcharts are an amazing tool to make that happen. So, what is a flowchart?
A flowchart is a visual representation of the logical steps or sequence of actions in an algorithm or a program. It uses standardized symbols and connectors to illustrate the flow of control within the program, including decision points, loops, input-output operations, and other key elements. Flowcharts are valuable tools for planning, designing, and understanding the structure of algorithms and programs. As we examine the components of a flowchart, it's important to note that various processes are represented by different shapes. Now, let's delve into these distinct shapes and their respective symbolic meanings and functions. Each shape serves a specific purpose in visually representing the logic and structure of the program. A rounded rectangle or oval shape typically represents the start or end point of a process. It's like the begin or end button in a sequence of actions. When you see this shape at the beginning of a flowchart, it marks where a process starts, and at the end, it indicates where the process finishes. It's a visual cue to help readers understand where the flow of actions begins or concludes. Hexagon or preparation. Preparation typically refers to any actions or steps taken to set up or initialize the variables, data structures, or environment needed for the main process or algorithm to run smoothly. This could involve declaring variables, initializing values, setting up data structures, or any other necessary setup tasks before the main process begins. Process or rectangle. A rectangular shape typically represents a process or an action. It signifies a step that needs to be carried out, such as a calculation, decision-making, or performing a task. This shape is where the actual work or operation takes place within the flowchart. It's like a command to do something specific within the process being diagrammed. Parallelogram typically represents input or output operations. It's like a gateway where information enters or exits the process. When you see a parallelogram in a flowchart, think of it as where data is either received from an external source like user input, or sent out of the system like displaying results. It's like the entrance or exit point for information within the flowchart. Diamond shape typically represents a decision point, where the flow of the process can go in one of two or more directions based on a condition or criteria. It's like a fork in the road where you have to make a choice. Depending on whether the condition is true or false, the flow will follow different paths. Arrows are directional indicators showing the sequence or direction of the process flow. They connect different symbols or shapes in the flowchart, guiding the reader on the order of actions or decisions. Arrows typically point from one step to the next, illustrating the logical progression of tasks or events. They help users understand the flow of information or actions within the chart, making it easier to follow and interpret.
Let's go to the example. Problem 1.
The problem is create a program that will display the sum of two numbers inputted by the user. So, step 1, start the flowchart with a rounded rectangle symbol to signify the beginning of the process. Connect it with an arrow or flow line to the next shape. Step 2. Declare three variables required for the program by utilizing a hexagon symbol for preparation. Declare the variables as num1 equals 0, num2 equals 0, and sum equals 0 using semicolons to separate them. Step 3. After declaring variables, proceed to input the data needed for the program. Utilize a parallelogram symbol which represents input and output operations, then input num1 and num2. Step 4. Move to the processing step. Utilize a rectangular symbol to represent the addition operation of the two variables num1 and num2. Step 5. Display the output. Use another parallelogram symbol to present the sum of the two inputted numbers. And last part, step 6, end the program by using a rounded rectangle symbol indicating the conclusion of the program flow. Connect this symbol to the previous one with an arrow or flow line to signify the end of the flowchart.
Finally, We have successfully created a flowchart for a program that calculates and displays the sum of two numbers inputted by the user. You can follow the steps provided to implement the program and achieve the desired functionality. So we will proceed to the next given problem. Problem 2.
The problem is create a program that will display even or odd depending on the number inputted by the user. So, step 1, begin the flowchart with a rounded rectangle symbol indicating the start of the program's logic. Connect this symbol to the next step using an arrow or flow line. Step 2, declare a variable to store the user input. Use a hexagon symbol to represent this preparation step. Declare the variable num and initialize it to 0. Step 3. Proceed to input the data or variables needed for the program. Use a parallelogram symbol to represent this step. Input the variable num. Step 4. Determine whether the inputted number is even or odd. Use a diamond symbol to represent this decision-making step. If the inputted number is even, proceed to the left side, otherwise proceed to the right side. Step 5. Output the result based on the inputted number. Use a parallelogram symbol to represent this output step. If the inputted number is even, it will display even, otherwise it will display odd. Step 6. End the program's flow by using a rounded rectangle symbol indicating the conclusion of the program's logic. Connect this symbol to the previous one with an arrow or flow line to signify the end of the flowchart. So that's all for today. Remember, flowcharts help you plan, understand, and communicate complex processes step by step. Whether you're a beginner or an experienced programmer, mastering flowchart can greatly improve your problem-solving abilities and streamline your development process. Keep practicing and experimenting with different symbols and layouts to find what works best for you. And don't forget to share your flowcharts with others to gather feedback and collaborate more efficiently.